thank y'all so much for the opportunity to visit with you and share just a few remarks with you this afternoon. How many people in the room were in Montgomery yesterday? We got one, we got two. Okay, so good. So you're only going to be bored with just a couple of items that I'm going to talk about, because I got a chance yesterday to speak to the ladies from around the state and brought just a short message to them because they had so many speakers lined up. We didn't want to take much time, but we'll cover some of that again here in just a little while. But Miss Linda, thank you. Thank you for that update from the inauguration. She's got a lot of energy, Miss Linda does, and so thank you. And yeah. But I want to thank each and every one of you for choosing to be here today. I'm honored by your presence, honored that you would take the time to come out when you could be doing many, many other things. But thank you so much for being here today. Thank you so much for investing in the Houston County Republican Women's Club. It is important what you're doing. And I was sitting over there and I read, I guess you'd call that your mission statement: promoting responsible government, conservative values, strong families, and freedom in our country, state, and nation. Ladies and gentlemen, that's important. And we're seeing evidence of that by the election of Donald Trump back in November, in the inauguration, and the speed at which he and his administration are moving in D.C. And so he's, I think, prepared to execute his plan within the first, what are we in now, a little over a month now. So it's been tremendous to watch them. The MAGA movement, Make America Great Again, America First, Make America, and all those things that he's implementing, I've enjoyed watching. So that's good. Let me just say this. I've been in office now since January the 16th of 2023. It's hard to believe it's February the 27th, 2025. It goes quickly. Time just gets a vapor, right? It goes fast. But we've got a great team in the Secretary's office. We've been able to assemble a wonderful group of individuals that get up day in and day out with singular purpose, and that is to work for the taxpayers of this state. One of those principles and values that I was able to bring with me from the county courthouse when I was a probate judge years ago in Pike County. Serving in that role really prepared me for where I'm at now as your Secretary of State. So, as you know, when individuals walk into the courthouse, they're having to deal with some issue. You just don't go to the courthouse because you want to have a good time, right? No, you're having to either pay taxes, or there's some problem, some family issue, or somebody's in trouble, or it's normally not a good, right, Alex? I mean, it's just not. But I told our team there in the courthouse from early on, in those first few days in 2009, it doesn't matter who walks in these doors, they're our customers. When they walk in that county courthouse and they take that left-hand turn in Pike County, in Troy, to come into our office, they may not need a car tag. They may not need a deed or judgment or lien or whatever recorded. They may not need their driver's license renewed. They may not need a will probated. They may not need an adoption. Whatever the case may be, the things that are in our jurisdiction in the probate office are what we handled. But like I said earlier, what they had and what they were dealing with was what was most important to them at that particular moment. And whether or not it was Social Security Administration, no matter if it was need something done with the Revenue Office or a myriad of issues that they may be dealing with that day, we wanted to be a conduit and a liaison to all of those other individuals that could help solve their problem. And we want to help people solve their problem. At the end of the day, that's why we're there. We're there to work for the taxpayer. I remember there was this young man that came on, and if you've heard this story, bear with me, but there was this young man that came in the office. He's a guy that you're going to know the type of guy this is in your community because you all kind of know this individual. He works from daylight, before daylight, to after dark. He wears jeans to work. He wears boots to work. He works on a piece of heavy equipment. He builds things. He's a small business owner. He employs individuals in the community. He has a young family, small family, growing company. And anyway, we got his issue taken care of, and he left. And I noticed in front of the desk there in the probate office on the carpet was this red mud. And I got to reflecting as we were cleaning that up that, that mud represented that man's life. It represented all those taxpayers that get up day in and day out to make their community better, to provide for their families, that pay the taxes that fund government. And I can't tell you how that was seared into my mind, into my conscience about that mud that came off his boots of a gentleman that was building things and being productive, that I work for the taxpayers and not the other way around. And I have taken that same philosophy from my time in the probate office, my time in the State House when I served one term in the Alabama House of Representatives, and taking it now to the state capitol, because it is important. The philosophy, values, and principles that your elected officials have and what they believe in. I want a live human being talking to you on the telephone if you've got a problem trying to conduct business in Alabama. If you're trying to start a new business, a new LLC, or whatever it may be in our state, which we handle, and you're going to interface with our office at some point if you're starting a new business. If you run into a stump in the road, I want you talking to a live human and not some chatbot, because it is important to talk to a live human. And we want to make sure that we take care of your needs and to get as much as we can government out of the way to y'all can be successful and people don't want to have to deal with us. They're trying to live their life. They're trying to go to the ballpark. They're trying to be at these events. They're trying to do a myriad of other things than having to deal with the government. And we have been laser focused, making sure that it is communicated to our 38 or so employees that we have in our office of what the mission is, and that's to take care of people, and that we work for them. And then when they've got a question, we're going to answer their question. If we don't answer that telephone call right then and right there, we're going to call them back immediately as quick as we possibly can. One example of our philosophy and values is, I'll give you some background story. In 21 or 2, the state legislature cut the tax on the business privilege tax. And but one unintended consequence of that bill that got signed into law in 21 or 22 was that there's a provision that that was already in law that required businesses to file an annual report with Montgomery. And normally, before we passed that bill, your CPA, when they were filing your taxes with the Alabama Department of Revenue, they would hit send to file your taxes, and then they would also hit send to file that annual report. And an annual report is basically, if I had a business, Wes Allen, LLC, at P.O. Box, whatever, it was just an update type form, just a piece of paper. Well, the unintended consequence of that bill we passed in 21 or 22 was that it had the Secretary's office to be the one to take in that annual report now. So no longer could you just do it in one punch of the button when you file your taxes. It required you to do an extra hoop and an extra fee. And so I started getting phone calls in January of last year from CPAs and from individuals around the state saying, Wes, what is this annual report we got to file with your office? This is not like it used to be. I'm like, I don't know, let me figure it out. What's going on here? So we did, and I knew right then, I said, all right, we're killing this thing off. I mean, we don't need that piece of paper. Y'all don't need to be having to file that piece of paper. There's no need to file that fee, and we can do without that. So we got a bill drafted rather quickly. We got it to the bill sponsors. We got that through the State House over to Governor Ivey. She signed it into law to cut out a piece of paper, to cut out a fee, and to make sure that, I know it's not a huge thing, but we're doing what we can within our purview, within our jurisdiction in the Secretary's office to make it easier. And so that's just one example of the things that we're trying to do, streamline, always looking at our standard operating, and I know that's kind of boring, standard operating procedures, but you've got to roll up your sleeves and look at those things, because those things matter in offices like this that touch so many people throughout the state. And I cannot brag on our staff enough, from chief of staff on down, about how they just get in and get after it each and every day. And so, but obviously what our office is known for is to protect elections. And I know yesterday the ladies up there told us that one of their big things is election integrity, and it's for me as well. I heard loud and clear on the campaign trail during 21 and 22 when I was seeking this office, protect our elections. And of course, we saw what happened in 20. Everybody was worried what we saw around the country. And so a former probate judge, chief elections official in Pike County, just like Judge Davenport is here, when he has an issue and he calls me up, and we served alongside each other in that probate office for many years. It's a personal relationship with Patrick. So Wes, we got this little issue with this, that, and the other. Or if it's the probate judge in wherever. It's not some foreign language, because I've been right there and I've stood in the fire. I've been there at the courthouse at 5:30 in the morning to get the courthouse going on election day. I know what it's like to appoint poll workers, train poll workers. I know what it's like to certify the tabulators. I know what it's like to proof and get the ballots printed. I know what it's like to travel to the precincts on election day to see and make sure the poll workers have everything they need to be successful, and to be there on election night when the unofficial results come in, and then to be the last one to walk out of that courthouse and lock it up. I was sworn in on January the 16th, 2023. I put down my right hand, went into the office, signed the letter to withdraw Alabama from Eric, and to chart us a course to make sure we have an Alabama-based solution to take care of our voter files. Voter file maintenance is the foundation of election integrity. If we do not have a good grasp on voter rolls and voter files in this state, it will get off in a ditch in a hurry. I understood that from my time as a probate judge, from working alongside those boards of registrars, how important that is. And you've got to have somebody leading from the top to make sure you're pushing on it each and every day, coming in with a team around you that believes and has bought in to what we want to do to take care of these voter files. And so we charted a course to come up with the Alabama Voter Integrity Database. And we're very proud of the results that we've seen with that. ALEA is a huge partner with us. When someone moves out of state, we get the information from ALEA when someone gets a driver's license, let's just say in Florida or Georgia or wherever. And we get that information, and then we send them correspondence to that voter to say, hey, we understand that you've moved. You need to remove yourself from the voter file, or we're going to put you on a path to removal. Americans, our Alabama citizens, American citizens, are very transient nowadays. They move around a lot. And so we've had over 130,000 individuals that we've identified with the help of ALEA that have moved out of state and received driver's license in another state. And that's since September of 2023. And that's a very important stat, because once they get the driver's license in Georgia, Alabama is canceling that driver's license here. So that's very important. We also ran numbers on the national change of address, working that list as well. When people move out of state, they normally get their mail forwarded from their Alabama address to wherever they're moving. So we did that same process as well. And we're always adhering to the National Voter Registration Act of 1993. We can't just instantly remove somebody if they've not passed away. It takes a very long process. It takes 4 years. I talked about this in the U.S. Senate committee in front of Senator Britt's committee back March of last year, and told them how the NVRA handcuffs election officials throughout the country. It really requires us to maintain a bloated file. I told them what we needed to consider to help us have access to that and other data that we needed from federal databases. But the NVRA, we're living by the NVRA, making sure we're living within the law on the NVRA. So that's very important that we continue to work along those lines. Another thing that we also is that we're working with the Social Security Death Index, a master death index file from around the country. If someone travels out of state, they pass away. That's not our data. That is that other state where that Alabama resident passed away. That is their data. So we didn't always have access to that. And so we have been working very diligently to make sure that if anybody got missed, we're removing those individuals once we find out about that. So we've I've got some, I read these off yesterday, and we did a little press release about it. Let me see if I got my right paperwork here. Our bilateral agreements with our sister states, Tennessee, Georgia, Florida, Mississippi, Arkansas, Louisiana, Kentucky. We've got a bilateral agreement that we've signed with each of these states where we exchange data and we look at, if anybody's moved, if they're double registered. And we found a lot of people, about a little over, almost 40,000 individuals that we've worked this list that are double registered. And so we put them on the path to removal. So, if you look at it, Mississippi and Tennessee were never part of ERIC. So we have never exchanged, until we got our program off the ground, exchanged data with Tennessee and with Mississippi. And so that's a very important point, and proud to work alongside those secretaries to get this thing done. We determined nearly 25,000 voters had no driver's license number or a Social Security number attached to their voter file. I'm the first Secretary of State in Alabama to require a driver's license or a Social Security, the last 4 of your Social, if you want to register to vote in the state of Alabama. Before that, we didn't have it. And we started that because it makes it more secure to get registered to vote in Alabama. And I want everybody to hear me. I want every U.S. citizen that is eligible to vote to be registered to vote, if they want to, okay? We want to make it as easy as we can to get registered to vote. You can do it online. We've got a little over 3.7 million registered voters right now in the state of Alabama. So we're very proud of AVID and what we've been able to do, and to push the ball down the field and to accomplish under AVID, and to make sure we have the most clean and accurate voter files in the country. And I think we are a model for the rest of the country to what we need to be doing while we live inside and within the jurisdiction of the NVRA, the federal law, to take care of our voter files. That's so vitally important. Again, I touched on this earlier. We need access to federal databases, one of which from the United States Citizenship and Immigration Services, of the list of legal non-citizens. I got sued over this, but we need that list to be able to compare to our voter file here in the state of Alabama. And I think we stand a better chance now that Donald Trump is in office. We have, I have advocated this position with our two great U.S. senators, and Katie Britt and Tommy Tuberville, to what we need. And so they have heard us, and they're working as well, and they obviously agree. In Alabama, some of the wins that we've had as far as legislation to further fortify our elections. Paper ballots. We've always had paper ballots, but it was in administrative code. Now, administrative code is a little easier to change than state law. So we said, you know what, we want to make sure that we take that out of administrative code and put that in state law and fortify that to where every election, state, local, municipality, whatever, has a paper ballot, and we're not using any type of apparatus, touch screen, that does not have paper ballots. We have the receipts. If there's ever anything contested, we can go back and check. Believe me, I've been through recounts. I've been through contests before as a probate judge when someone didn't agree with whatever. We've done that. I understand how the process works. We've got to have paper ballots, and because of the state legislature and your fine delegation here in Houston County, we've got paper ballots in state law. We'll always have paper ballots. The tabulators that you use, the DS200s from ES&S, will never be able to be connected to the internet. We got a state law passed to mandate that. I'm the first secretary from Alabama to ever travel to Omaha to their home office and put my eyeballs on this place, meet with their CEO, meet with their CF, meet with all of their folks, because I wanted to be satisfied that you're satisfied we have strong, safe, secure, transparent elections. That's important. So no internet connectivity for any kind of Bluetooth beaming down to try to interfere with anything. They got the paper ballot. They roll it through the tabulator, and at the end of the night, unlike some states, we know who wins and loses in Alabama. It doesn't take us 3 to 4 weeks to count votes. And I'm so very proud of the system that we have. We prohibited ranked choice voting. We've never used ranked choice voting, but we wanted to be on the front end to say we're not going to allow that chaos-inducing, confusing mess of a way to count ballots. We believe the way we have it in Alabama is the best way. Focus us to the primary runoff. It focuses to only 2 candidates. It focuses our electorate on who our 2 candidates are in the primary. We do not need ranked choice voting. It results in spoiled ballots. It results in delayed results. If you go back and Google ranked choice voting, you'll see some states and some jurisdictions during this past presidential. It took time, and it was just confusing for people. People get confused with it, they just give up and walk out. I mean, you just Google it. If it tells you anything, the Communist Party of America endorses ranked choice voting. That tells you anything you need to know right there. So in Alabama, we'll never have it. One of the bills I'm so proud of is a bill, HB 100, that got passed last year that protected poll workers from any kind of threats or anything at the precincts. But we wanted to put something in there too that further defined disqualifying felonies of moral turpitude, of trying to be a deterrent to individuals that wanted to break our laws and to cause chaos on our streets, that their right to vote was going to be taken away. Now, murder and those big ones of rape and all the other things, those are already on there, but we added all of the attempts. So attempted murder, that was not on there. What? So we added that. We added aggravated assault. We added elder abuse to this long list of disqualifying felonies that will get your voting rights taken away from you. I just don't believe, philosophically, if you're out in the streets causing chaos and mayhem, you do not need to be electing our leaders. Plain and simple. So we got that passed. Governor Ivey signed that into law. Proud of that piece of legislation. And then SB 1 to protect our absentee voting. Hear me when I say this. Absentee voting is important. There are a lot of people who use it. We've got paid activists out there that are earning a living trying to manipulate the absentee process, trying to manipulate local races, trying to manipulate state races on absentee voting. It happens. It did happen. We recognized that it was happening. And so we made sure we put provisions in place where the application portion of the absentee process is protected. They can't pre-fill them, they can't distribute them, they can't take them up, they can't get paid for it, they can't pay someone else to go out and round up all these absentee applications. There's provisions in there that if anybody is disabled per federal law, the definition under federal law, they can have anybody that they want to help them vote absentee. Our absentee numbers actually went up in '24. For all those people telling me I was trying to suppress the vote, I had a lot of those folks telling me that. Our opponents of the bill said in a hearing on this bill, when we see election fraud, normally it's in the orbit of absentee voting. And this Democratic senator was right. She was right. But we feel so confident about SB 1 and what it's been able to protect while also increasing absentee voting that we're very proud of it. It's withstood federal scrutiny and federal lawsuit. We were sued not long after Governor Ivey signed it into law. So we're very proud of it and to protect our elections. And then action in 2014 when I was still a probate judge, I remember that day and that primary when we started with photo ID. There weren't any problems at all. How hard is it to pull your driver's license out and show it at the precincts? It's not hard at all. I didn't have one negative phone call that day in 2014, not one. And anybody that wants to weaken our photo identification law is going to have to come through our office to weaken it. And anybody that wants to circumvent that photo ID law is going to hear from our office. So photo identification is important. It prevents fraud. It's common sense. And we firmly believe our photo identification law is the strongest and best in the country. And I'm a guy that believes in election day, not election month, as some people do around the country. President Trump said that right before the election. He believes in election day. And we're going to make sure we keep that. Any kind of proposals that come along for automatic voter registration, same-day voter registration, no excuse absentee voting, there are proposals right now in the House from Democratic members in the House and the Senate to present those. We are going to work to play defense and make sure those proposals do not get a hearing and do not pass whatsoever. We're not going to allow anyone to weaken our election laws in this state. We've been able to structuring how we train our boards of registrars around the state. I thought it would be good to have our most seasoned registrars and with the help of our office come up with training and then have smaller meetings, not one huge meeting, but have smaller meetings because people are more apt when they're in smaller groups to talk and to share ideas of what kind of stumps they hit, in the road and what they're experiencing and whatnot. So we're very, very excited for that. We've deployed geographical information software to the counties, to about 49 or so counties that have it, to make sure that where you vote is really, really important. We do not need someone walking in the precinct and picking up the wrong ballot. So if you live at 101 Main Street, we got to make sure you're in the right precinct. And this computer software, mapping software, has been tremendous to correct some mistakes. And so we're very, very proud of that. And we've also got some indictments right now with absentee voting, one in Clay County, one in Mobile, in the absentee orbit. So that's working its way through the courts. We've helped federal investigations on people that steal identification and illegal immigrants that have voted in Alabama elections. They stole someone's ID and registered and voted, so we've had some convictions in that as well and guilty pleas. So that is kind of in a nutshell what we've been able to focus on and give you kind of a 30,000 foot view of what we've been doing in our office.